Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Fearless Thinking, a podcast designed to help you navigate authentic leadership and the entrepreneurial journey. I'm your host, Michael Devous, and these are my thoughts, lessons, and insights from my entrepreneurial journey into coaching, workshops, motivational speaking, and of course, what I picked up from interviews with inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs along the way. My mission is to help people unlock their untapped potential by using fear as a catalyst for powerful change and growth so they can step into the greatest version of their most authentic selves. All right, let's get into some fearless thinking. Okay, hey, fearless thinkers. Today we are diving into a topic that has become increasingly more important in leadership circles, and that's authenticity. That word has been bandied about, been used a lot. In fact, it's on my mission statement, my manifestation statement for 2024. I recently did an event called Leadership Navigator 2024, where I actually asked a lot of the leaders at that event, the panelists, to talk about how they define authenticity when it comes to leadership and executive roles. And one of the things that was super fascinating to me when we were doing our panel rehearsals and session rehearsals leading up to the actual event, what I found was language, the definition of words were all in various ways different from each other based on their background experiences and their perspectives. And each one of them came at the word authenticity, leadership, diversity, inclusivity, safe spaces, all came at these words very differently. And so one of the things we discovered was we needed to redefine, or at least come to an agreement on one type of definition for authenticity. And that's hard to do. Each of us, I think, at different points along our journey are discovering what authenticity means for us. And that's how we approach the situation. That's how we approach the scene. I might bring a version of my authentic self into a situation where I feel super comfortable and confident. I might bring a different authentic version of myself at a more corporate setting, environment. It doesn't mean we give everything away up front. It doesn't mean we expose ourselves and be completely naked. But there is a certain sense of authenticity and vulnerability that do come with it, and you really have to know who you are. And I think that's part of what fascinates me about authenticity in leadership, is it asks us, or we should be asking ourselves, I should say, every time you go into a situation, every time we come into the room, every time we come into the boardroom or whatever, are we bringing an authentic version of ourselves that meets that situation? And if we're bringing something different every time, is that authentic, or is that masking, shape-shifting, role-playing, right? So like authenticity, especially in professional settings, kind of feels like we're walking a tightrope. We all know the pressure to conform. Leaders are often expected to project a certain type of image, a specific style. Maybe it's strong, silent type, or very charismatic, visionary. But what if that's not for you, right? What if your greatest strength actually lies in your humor? Like me, I find myself to be I insert humorous moments and laughter into a lot of things that may, under certain circumstances, not appear to be appropriate. But that's my comfort zone. Like that's where I see humor in moments of irony. You know, maybe you're better at being more empathetic or have a cultural background perspective that you bring to the table. I was listening to a podcast recently on coaching leadership, and one of the ladies that was being interviewed by this coach had stepped into a leadership role and was really struggling because she felt like all of the male leaders were expecting her to be this bigger, larger, charismatic lead, take control and lead with enthusiasm and energy. And I thought, you know what? There's probably 1,000 different ways you could lead. And they don't have to be the same, and they can all be effective, right? So this is where things get tricky. We start playing these mind games in our head, right? Role switching, like I was saying before, where we actually adapt our behavior for different situations. I have done it. I built that skill set over years, being a former performer, at working in production with events, working with clients, and creating different experiences. I have had to learn to step into different roles for different people to help meet them where they are and deliver what they want. And I always wondered about whether that was authentic. What I learned, I think, later on, what I came to my conclusion was that is what I do great. That's one of my best skills. And that is my authenticity. That's a part of my authenticity, right? There are, just like on there are facets on a diamond, and different shades to us, that is one version of how I succeed. In fact, it's a skill set that has helped me succeed for many years. And it isn't disingenuous for me to shift at the understanding and expectation of what I'm getting from a client, what I'm getting from a person, or what I'm getting when I walk into a room. And I think almost all of us do this to a certain degree. A leader might actually act differently in a boardroom meeting than they do like catching up with the team member in a casual conversation. Then there's actual code switching, right? Especially relevant for leaders today who are working from diverse cultural backgrounds. You might find yourself adjusting your language or your communication style depending on the social context. But here's the thing, both role switching and code switching, while they can be valuable tools and allow us to actually navigate these complex situations and connect with different people, the problem arises when they become a mask. When we spend so much time adjusting ourselves that we lose sight of who we truly are, that's when authenticity suffers. So let me repeat that. The problem arises when our code switching, our role switching, our ability to change and shift in that situation becomes a mask, hiding ourselves. When we spend too much time adjusting who we are, that we actually lose sight of who we are. And that is when authenticity suffers. And believe me, masking your true self isn't just emotionally draining, it can actually hinder your effectiveness as a leader. How do you build trust or inspire a team if they don't see you as real, if they don't perceive you as authentic, if they discern actually that you're masking? What if they sense that, right? How can you be a role model for authenticity if you're constantly putting on a show? And I find this so fascinating because it is a challenge. In fact, even if you're not in a leadership role yet, you probably do it as a manager or an employee. We all do it to some degree. But when do we stop for a moment and ask ourselves, when we're in that situation, if we're role modeling leadership and authenticity in our daily practice? So, what is the solution, right? Well, it's not about throwing out all of our professionalism entirely, right? It's not stripping everything down and exposing ourselves, emotionally to everybody. But authenticity doesn't mean being completely unfiltered or unprofessional. So, for all of you out there who think, I just said the truth, I just told the truth. No, you didn't. You're spilling it. You know what I mean? There's no need for that. There is definitely a need for being a little professional and keeping some of those filters on, right? You don't have to let everything out. But it is about bringing your true self and your strengths and experiences to the table in a way that fosters trust, connection, and effective leadership, right? So here are a few ways for us to walk this tightrope, but with a little grace. One, advocate for inclusion. Leaders can champion diversity and inclusivity initiatives that create an environment where everyone feels comfortable being their authentic selves, right? Imagine a workplace where your unique background isn't something you have to downplay, but it's actually something that you can leverage for the benefit of the team. And two, find your authentic leadership style. Now, this is a journey just like everything else that we do. It takes time for you to discover it. It does take time to sit in it and get comfortable with it, just like putting on certain outfits and things that make you feel good. Maybe the key isn't about erasing your natural style so much as about finding ways to express it within the context of your leadership role, right? Can you be assertive and empathetic at the same time? Can you be humorous and still command respect? I think some of us worry about that a lot. Third, lead by example. I mean, this is kind of obvious, right? We lead by example whether you want to lead by example or not. If you're stepping into a leadership role, people are looking up to you and you are leading by example. So if you're not actively looking at that and thinking about that impact, you could be doing it wrong and you could be leading, disingenuously. You could be leading people in the wrong you could be giving people the wrong impression of who you are. So by openly embracing your own authentic self, you now set a positive example for others to do the same. Look, the journey to authentic leadership isn't always easy. I mean, there's going to be bumps along the way, especially if we're practicing trying to really be ourselves in a world that for years never asked us to bring ourselves to the table. I mean, if you're like me, you grew up in a world where you were always told to leave your problems in your family and your you know what at the door. And now we're being asked to bring our authentic selves. We're trying to build authentic environments, have authentic conversations. And it's hard. I mean, it's not easy to know what that means because, by the way, somebody could be thinking of authenticity in this way. That person could be thinking of it this way. And I bring a different version of authenticity. So again, there's going to be bumps along the way. But remember, the most inspiring leaders and the ones who bring their whole selves to the table, they are the ones who end up connecting with their teams on a deep level, right? And they build genuine trust and ultimately can achieve greater success and productivity. So, thanks for joining me on this exploration of our inaugural episode today on authenticity and what it actually means to be authentic in a leadership role. Remember, your true self is your greatest strength, so don't be afraid to bring that to the leadership table. And until next time, stay bold, stay true, stay tuned, and of course, think fearlessly. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.